Gambling has went from shady backrooms and smoky casinos to being easily accessible on our phones in just a couple years. What used to be something that people rarely encountered is now seen every day in our culture and our lives. We're seeing it everywhere, from sporting events to regular entertainment and even kids' hobbies. So we're breaking down the rise of gambling culture, why it's so prevalent in our society today, and where it's showing up in places we have never expected. As many of you know, the sports betting explosion really started in 2018. The Supreme Court voted and overturned the federal ban on sports betting. This one decision unlocked hundreds of billions of dollars of bets placed almost overnight. From sports bars and offices to even ads on Twitter. You see it everywhere. Logos popping up on jerseys, ads popping up mid-play of a sporting game. And the culture of sports betting now frames it as watching sports feels incomplete unless you're putting money on the line. The problem with this are that millions of young men are getting sucked in. Millions of dollars of debt, bankruptcies, and even mental health issues. And the industry doesn't seem to be slowing down on this problem at all. There's way too much money to be made from celebrity endorsements to team sponsorships, and just the league in general doesn't care because there's so much money in the business. These sports leagues no longer care about integrity. If there's money to be made, I guarantee you they're going to be cashing their checks. And chances are, if you're a guy under 30, you have been peer pressured to want to bet and gamble with your friends for a game as well. Over the years, so much language behind gambling has crept into the culture as well. We see it all over the internet with people talking about hitting their parlays, and even sports broadcasters and players are getting in on the mix too. With all of the culture of gambling going into sports betting, I feel like the average fan almost feels left out if they aren't participating in it. And gambling has always been present in sports. The difference is, back in the day, you had to get some bookie from New York City, and now you could just open up an app on your phone and get right into the action. But gambling has crept into pretty much every layer of our culture. It's no longer just about sports. Pretty much any industry can play into this ideology. And one of the biggest social media sites that has really taken advantage of this is TikTok. With the rise of short form content, so many people have actually started businesses on selling tips on how to gamble correctly. These viral clips are promoting guaranteed strategies on how to win in the market. But most of this is nonsense. These apps and all of the sports books already put into account people putting the most popular bet based on what other people are telling them on TikTok. So you think you're going to be placing your best bet on whatever show or event is happening, when in reality you're probably going to lose all of your money just because you made the popular vote. And with TikTok, so many people are buying into the illusion of beating the system. The truth is, no one consistently wins when it comes to gambling. And when these influencers online post their big wins where they're making 10, 20 grand upwards, they are conveniently leaving out the dozen of clips of the times that they lost money. With all these content creators who are putting out content on how to win with sports betting, I feel like they're just snake oil salesmen. Influencers know that their audience is mostly teenagers or young adults, and they still don't care. And the craziest thing is that the government is more worried about TikTok being a national security risk, yet it ignores the gambling epidemic that is spread every day. All of these wins online are exaggerated, and the losses just seem to be forgotten about. These people are posting their highlight reels, and that is the only way that they're able to grow their audience. And we also have to talk about the rise of parlays. If you don't know, parlays are essentially stacking 6 or 7 bets together with the chance that if all of your bets hit, you get a massive payout. I feel like these are essentially the lottery tickets of sports betting. The odds of actually winning are microscopic, and these apps play into the parlay game. They highlight the most popular parlays to lure people in. Sometimes they even give people 1 or 2 free legs, so if your other bets don't work, you still make some money. And the idea behind this is that if 50 or 100,000 other people place the same bet, it must be the smartest bet. And most of the time, these parlays can be really cheap. For example, you could only put a few dollars on something that has a microscopic odd of winning. And if by some very, very rare chance it does happen, you could make upwards of 10 grand. But the issue with this is that all of these losses pile up. And the design behind the parlays are intentional. The sports betting companies want you to continue chasing the rush of just being one leg away from that big win. I feel like this is one of the worst ways to bleed through your bank account. And these apps are really smart about what they do because they frame everything around entertainment. It's pretty much the same thing as a slot machine at a casino. But the main difference between going to a casino and playing a slot machine versus putting a bet on a sports game is that it's more skill-based. So people feel like they have an advantage over the system if they're very knowledgeable about football or basketball or whatever the sport may be. And putting that $10 parlay isn't harmless fun whenever you're doing it 4 or 5 times a week for a whole year. And don't get me wrong, I put some money on games before, and I do understand how it could be fun to kind of play into the game. If you're more invested in the game, you have a little bit more fun watching it. But at the same time, the culture around it is extremely toxic. I mean, people go way too far when it comes to sports betting. I think the most amount of money I've ever put on a game was like $20 to $50. But I've had some friends and acquaintances put $100, $200+ on a single game. And like I said, it's death by 1,000 cuts. When you're doing that every weekend or multiple times a week, it's easy to fall into a trap of gambling addiction. But keep in mind, gambling isn't only showing up in our culture with sports. It's now being introduced to toys and kids games. This whole gambling mentality has crept into hobbies that are originally meant for kids, like Pokemon cards, sports cards, and blind boxes like Labubus. I'm talking about the mystery toys, those loot boxes, and opening up packs of cards not knowing what you're going to get. And the whole idea behind this is that instead of buying the toy or item that you actually want, kids are continuously gambling for the chance to pull the rare one. And although this isn't technically gambling, the model behind this is the exact same. You have the anticipation, the near misses, and then the dopamine spikes of having the chance to pull that rare item. And this is essentially priming kids to metaphorically roll the dice before they're old enough to get a sports book. This is all by design. These companies are straight up teaching kids how to gamble before they could even do basic math. And a lot of trading cards have always had this ideology in the past, but with the recent blind box culture and TikTok amplifying all of these videos, it feels more weaponized than ever. And I'm not the only one who thinks this. Multiple countries in Europe think so too. There have been multiple lawsuits and bans in Europe against loot boxes as proof of gambling. It's like, I don't care if a grown man does whatever they want to do with their money and be stupid, but whenever these companies are intentionally introducing the gambling mentality to kids, that's where I have a real problem. And of course, Pokemon cards and sports cards in general are probably the worst. There are entire live streams every day opening hundreds of packs to children audiences. And originally, these trading cards were made to be played in a game. But now the new thrill is not playing the game, but pulling the rare cards. All of these influencers online are playing into this by showcasing their big hits and having the viewers buy into the gambling. And typically, I wouldn't have a problem with this, but the issue is that it mirrors casino culture almost exactly. The product is no longer the cards themselves. It's about the chances of hitting something rare. Pulling these packs for their viewers on the internet is now just gambling with cardboard. And this whole ideology is affecting the youth in multiple ways that aren't just cards and sports, but has now been introduced to the streaming world. With platforms like Kick and sometimes even Twitch, they are promoting crypto gambling and even just gambling in general in the form of games to their audience. And there are so many massive streamers and celebrities who are playing into this game. I mean, even think back to a few years ago when RiceGum pulled this on his audience. He was promoting one of these sites that kind of sold streetwear and sneakers to his young and impressionable audience. He made a whole video almost dedicated to this, but the thing is, every time he spun the wheel to try and get a rare item, he hit almost every single time. And this was rigged on purpose to make it seem like you have a really high chance of winning something cool, like a pair of sneakers or a Supreme Box logo hoodie. But in reality, it's all fake. And streamers in the present day are doing this too. They are gambling with house money that's provided by the site. This is causing them to win millions of dollars on camera and then reload it like nothing happened. Keep in mind at any point in time when it deals with technology, these statistics can be easily manipulated to make these streamers have a higher chance of winning. And the viewers behind these think that the wins are real and think that they can replicate them. I mean, even Drake sometimes posts on his Instagram for his millions and millions of followers to show off what bet he's placing on like a UFC fight or a basketball game through the app Stake.
Anita Max win.
And these partnerships are really effective because they're essentially leveraging parasocial relationships. It's like, if my favorite creator or celebrity does this, why shouldn't I? And all of the people playing into this are pretty much just actors in an ad campaign. And gambling has always been a thing, but there's been a massive rise of it with social media and just the increased power of technology. These modern gambling apps are designed to be like social platforms. They use statistics and data to track users' behavior, to send them push notifications right at the moment when they're going to cave in and make a bet. And they have all of these really shady and kind of scummy offers whenever someone is most vulnerable and they're trying not to spend money or try and get over a gambling addiction. These boosted odds notifications will pop up on people's phones. This is the algorithm that knows a person's lifestyle and habits and will try and nudge them a little bit whenever they're trying to get them back in the game. And none of this is random marketing. This is all engineered with precision to get you back into your addiction. They're using people's own data against them. These gambling apps know whenever a person is at their most weakest. And they continuously exploit it, but no one ever talks about it. All of these companies care about is keeping the people on their app broke, but also actively using it. And all of these notifications that they give you to try and increase your odds or get back on the app are just shiny bait. If you look at the statistics of people who gamble, over time they will lose. And keep in mind, with technology, anything can be skewed with their odds. And although gambling is very prevalent within sports, the ideology has kind of seeped into our everyday lives. Think about all the mobile games on people's phone anytime they open like a chest, to the mystery boxes on YouTube, and even stock trading platforms are all using this sort of gamified method. The promise behind this is quick wins and easy money. They make it all a game with bonus streaks and even leaderboards. But the reality is you're still putting something on the line, and this is just risk that is disguised as a fun game. The overall idea of what we're seeing is gambling is starting to leak into everyday lives of consumers. It is training people to chase dopamine and instant gratification in every interaction. These apps are also unethical in the same way that sports betting apps are. They both prey on people with financial desperation in the same way. I feel like when people talk about gambling addictions, it's more closely related to video game addiction. It's the gamification of the entire process. Every single time you win or get that reward, you're getting a hit of dopamine. And the brain is trained to consistently chase after that. People think that they can make some quick money through gambling, and although some people do win, the odds are so skewed against the average person, especially when technology is involved. At any point in time, someone could just press a button or change a few digits on a keyboard, and the chances of you winning can be zero. A lot of the investment trading apps like Robinhood also use the same trick. I feel like pretty much every layer of culture has played into this at some level. And when it comes down to it, gambling has always existed, but the technology behind gambling has now been improved. The tech has essentially made it harder to escape than ever before because it's more weaponized. It's easier than ever for the average person to get into, and there's a culture around it that makes you feel like you have to play into the game. Whenever sports, TikTok, celebrities, streamers, and even kids' hobbies all push this same message, rather than just a vice or an addiction that someone could just kind of push under the rug. And the scary part is that for many people, the line between entertainment and addiction is already gone. And I'm not calling for sports gambling to be banned, or even Pokemon cards for kids for that matter. I think the main message is to be aware of all of the things that are happening right now. At the end of the day, the more awareness that you have on these things, it's easier to not get wrapped up into it too much. And at the end of the day, the house always wins. And so while it might be fun to gamble on a sports game every so often, or to bet on crypto, or to collect Pokemon cards, it's important to remember that all of this has been created by design to get you to keep buying things and spending money. And if you like content like this, feel free to check out some of the other videos on my channel that are similar to this one, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.